everyone. My name is Jan Kingsford, and on behalf of Group 2, we welcome you to our presentation on BSBE 158, Logic and Critical Thinking. Today, we explore a very important question, that if critical thinking is vital to development, then why do people, even the educated, find it difficult and struggle with it? In this presentation, we aim to share meaningful ideas and encourage us all to reflect deeply on how you reason, think, and make unbiased decisions. The above statement in question is a paradox. Yes, we have more universities, more graduates, and easy access to information than ever before. Yet misinformation spreads daily. The youths fall for propaganda, and most intellectual discourse in Ghana is mostly driven by emotional manipulations, argumentum ad passion. John Dewey argued in 1910 that reflective thinking does not come naturally. It's a habit that must be deliberately cultivated. Our group argues that the raw barrier is not intelligence, it's the contribution of cognitive biases, social pressures, and educational systems which actively discourage critical thinking.
Hello, my name is Lena John-Four Osman, and I'll be continuing this presentation on the case for critical thinking. When we say critical thinking, it's a deliberate process which people take to think at the highest level of clarity. Segal's and Kahneman's ideas are connected. Segal believes that the solution is to teach people to think critically by questioning information, checking evidence, and using reason instead of emotions or assumptions. In simple terms, Kahneman's ideas point out the problem, while Segal offers the solution. This is important for development because better thinking leads to better decisions in many areas of life.
Building on what my colleague has discussed, I will now talk about cognitive and psychological barriers which makes critical thinking very difficult, even for the educated individuals. According to Daniel Kahneman, our thinking ability operates in two systems. System 1 is fast, automatic, and relies on emotions, while System 2 is slow, more logical, and requires conscious effort. Although critical thinking depends on System 2, but most people naturally rely on System 1 because it is quick and easier. One common cognitive barrier I would like to talk about is confirmation bias. For this, people intend to accept information based on their personal opinion and beliefs rather than the actual objective facts. Another psychological barrier is the Dunning-Kruger effect. This occurs when people overestimate their knowledge and abilities. This makes them less willing to accept corrections and recognize their weakness. We can also talk about emotions and mental shortcuts, collectively known as heuristics, which can influence our judgment. People have feelings such as fear, pride, and loyalty, which may prevent the evaluation of evidence objectively and can lead to wrong conclusions. To conclude, to think critically, we should question our beliefs, listen to different opinions, and make decisions based on facts. My name is Steven.
Hi, my name is Odriko Kotete, and I'll be presenting on educational barriers. Some educational barriers to critical thinking are: 1. Fear of authority. Students are not supposed to challenge textbooks or teachers. Hence, asking difficult questions feels like disrespect. 2. Oversized classrooms with 60 plus students does not create room for discussions or group analysis. 3. Loose learning cultures. Most schools reward memorization, not questionings or analysis. Hence, most students adopt the true and poor method of learning. Harvey Segal warns that such education leads to indoctrination because students do not examine the reasons behind them. We have built an educational system that rewards memory and not thinking. If we want critical thinkers, we must reward questions as much as we reward answers.
My name is Nozizo Siposetumhlong, and I will be talking about social barriers. Beyond the classroom, social barriers powerfully suppress critical thinking. Our paper identifies three barriers, that is egocentrism, appeal to authority, as well as the appeal to popularity. Richard Paul and Linda Elder describe egocentrism as the inability to genuinely consider perspectives outside of your own. Egocentric thinkers do not recognize the limits of their own views, and that blocks intellectual empathy entirely. the appeal to authority. This is very cultural in Ghana. Respect for elders, religious leaders, and professionals is a value. But when it becomes unquestioning, it shuts down inquiry. People stay silent, not because they cannot think, but because questioning authority carries a social cost. Lastly, the appeal to popularity. This is a fallacy that operates constantly. People follow the crowd, not out of conviction, but to avoid exclusion. Solomon Ash's experiments prove that people will deny the evidence of their own eyes just to conform. In our campuses, this looks like students who privately disagree but publicly stay silent.
I'm in the person of Sandonya Kushomate, a level 100 student from the Department of Accounting, Banking and Finance. Speaking on the topic, why education does not guarantee critical thinking. Our paper introduces the educated non-thinker as someone with qualification who can record facts and pass exams, but does not question assumptions or change their minds when evidence demands it. The problem is credentialism, equating certificate with the ability to think well. Harvey Siegel is direct. Intellectual autonomy means using your own reasons, not your status. But what we see often is students saying, I went to KNUST to win an argument instead of reasoning through it. Carol Dweck's fixed mindset research explains why. You have been labeled the brilliant student since primary school. Being wrong feels like losing identity. So dedicated people avoid questions that expose their gaps. No doubt means no thinking.
I am Ama Issa Asar. The barriers to critical thinking are real, but can be overcome through few important steps. That is the pathway forward for critical thinking. First, education should focus on active learning through debate, discussion, problem solving instead of memorization. John Dewey believed students learn best by actively engaging with ideas. Secondly, we should develop intellectual humility by recognizing that we do not know everything and being willing to learn from others. As Paul and Elder explained, good thinkers question their own assumptions. Finally, we must overcome biases such as cognitive bias and overconfidence by carefully evaluating evidence before making decisions. This helps us think more objectively and make better judgments. In conclusion, critical thinking is a lifelong skill that enables us to solve problems, make informed decisions, and contribute positively to the society.
Good day, everyone. I hope my name has been mentioned. I'll be talking about the concept of development. Development is often described as hospitals and but Amasya true development is about expanding human capabilities, the freedom people live their life daily. On this view, critical thinking is not a liability infrastructure. A society that cannot reason carefully cannot sustain accountable institutions, make sound decisions, or even resist manipulation during election. John Dewey reinforced this.
Critical thinking is not a luxury, it is infrastructure. A society that cannot reason carefully cannot sustain accountable institutions, make sound public health decisions, or even resist manipulation during election. John Dewey reinforced this. Human beings are not born with the ability to think reflectively. It is about the habits that must be trained. Without this training, we produce graduates with certificates, but without development.
In conclusion, our presentation has shown that critical thinking is essential for development. Yet, many educated people still struggle with it. This is not because of lack of influence, but because of habits, social influence, and educational systems that often prioritize memorizing over questioning. To improve critical thinking, we must encourage open-mindedness, accept mistakes as part of learning, and promote reflection from an early age. As John Dewey said, thinking is not a natural gift, but a cultivated art.